Today we're going to be talking about optimizing your website's crawl budget, and this is something that's often overlooked because crawl budgets aren't sexy, but they're incredibly important, especially when we're talking about large websites, big e-commerce websites, enterprise SEO. These things can have a major impact on your site. Specifically, a decrease in your average daily crawl allocation, which we're going to talk about, a decrease in your website's overall indexation rate, so the number of pages that you have in Google's index goes down over time, and most importantly, it can lead to a decrease in keyword rankings and organic traffic, because a decrease in crawl means the Googlebot's coming to your website less, which means you have less pages, which means you have less keywords and less organic rankings. So what we're going to talk about specifically is what a crawl budget is, what your website's crawl budget is, how to audit a crawl budget once you have the information, how to increase your crawl budget, and then some case study results that we found. So real quick, we're an agency called From the Future. Our headquarters is in Philadelphia. I'm right here in the blue shirt looking like a doofus out of our Miami office. We specialize in technical SEO. This is something that we do for some very large enterprise style clients, and we've seen really tremendous results. Just a quick screenshot of who of our select clients are, and even more. But more specifically, the results that we get. I'm just going to breeze you through all these SEM Rush screenshots here of all these websites that we've worked on and done really heavy technical SEO, and you can see all the keywords ranking just exploding. And again, I'm just zipping through these real quick because I don't want to bore you. If you're really interested, you can pause the video and then Google it. But we are available for hire. Just visit us at onthefuture.com. And now that I can get out of my sales pitch and get you what you came here for, and that's talking about your crawl budget. So this is a picture of Gary Ilias. He's one of the heads of search at Google. I don't know if that's his exact title, but he's very active in the SEO and webmaster community. And what he wrote was a very important blog post a couple months back about basically a FAQ style post for crawl budget. And then he said prioritizing what to crawl is more important for bigger sites or those that auto-generate pages based on your URL parameters, for example. So again, like I said, we're talking mainly about enterprise style websites here, very large, that have a lot of different automation and functionality built into them. This can be very, very important. This can be a huge thing for you to audit and check out. So specifically, he talks about crawl rate limit. So crawl rate limit, and I'm just going to define these for you real quick, is basically the max rate at which Google will fetch your pages in the time that it will take for the bot to return to crawl it again. So the rate limit is something that Google sets and understands, and they base it based on what's called crawl health. So crawl health can be positively or negatively affected based on your website's performance. So if the Googlebot is coming to your website crawling at a high rate, a high crawl limit, but your website's slow, it's not responsive, you have a lot of 404 pages, what's going to happen is Google's going to basically think that you have a lower quality website because these are signs of a poor quality website. And when you have thousands of these, maybe even millions of these types of pages and errors occurring across your website, again, talking enterprise SEO, it can have a massive impact on your crawl limit, and you can just see Google visiting your website less and less. So that basically leads into what he calls crawl demand. So if there's no demand for indexing pages that is crawling, in other words, if the Googlebot is coming to your website, pages are 404, and just what I described, if you have a poor crawl health, Google will lower your crawl budget. Again, just what I said, you got to think about it this way. Google's crawling billions and trillions of websites. I don't even know. Their Googlebot has to be very productive, and they're looking at all these signs of quality and judging your website based on it. If you don't abide by it, then your traffic can have a significant negative impact, which you've seen quite a bit. So Google will lower your crawl budget. And again, he goes in to talk about popularity, and this is something that my business partner Nick is really hot on right now, pushing away from the traditional style of link building and looking more at pages from a links point of view in terms of popularity. And it's not a new thing talking about social media, but we're talking more about virality, right? Showing Google that your website is truly popular is a whole nother conversation, but basically what Google is looking at is popularity and determining that URLs are more popular because they're getting more shares, they're getting more links, they're getting more engagement across the web, tend to be crawled more often to maintain freshness, which makes sense, right? Google wants to make sure that if your page is popping and is going viral, that they're constantly coming back to see if you updated, to see if anything changed, et cetera, et cetera. And then also for staleness. So this is just Google's attempt to prune against pages that no longer provide users value. So you don't necessarily have to update your website every day, but you should definitely be going through your website at least on a quarterly basis, auditing copy, testing page titles, putting up some blog posts, adding new content, building depth. It's really important to keep your website pruned like that, especially on a quarterly basis, to make sure that the Googlebot is going to come back and increase your crawl limit and crawl budget. So what we do is we take that crawl rate and crawl demand together, and we define the crawl budget as a number of URLs Googlebot can and wants to crawl. So again, all those things that we just said factor into what Google determines is your crawl budget. So what is your website's crawl budget and how do you find it? It's really simple. Actually, you can start getting the data that you need. Just go into Google Search Console and over here on the left-hand side where it says crawl and then crawl stats, just click on it and it will show you the number of pages on your website that Google is crawling per day. And I just want to run you through some live examples from clients to give you an idea of what we're looking at here. So I'm looking at the top one here, pages crawled per day. And what this is a pretty steady crawl budget, right? You can see here that Google is visiting on a very regular basis and it's maintaining steady, no major peaks, drop-offs, or drives. This is a healthy crawl budget. We always like to see it going up, but that depends if you're publishing new pages, if you're getting new links, right? If you only have a 5-page website, it's not really something they have to worry about because Google might understand it and understand that, hey, in your industry, this is pretty standard. But again, we're talking about bigger websites. If we want to make sure that this is constantly going up to get the Google back to the website as much as possible, for obvious reasons, it just means more keyword rankings and more organic traffic. So this is an example of a client website, e-commerce website, that improperly used URL parameters in Google Search Console, which ended up ripping out a lot of pages from the index. So what you can see here is when they removed all those pages, Google quickly understood that, hey, a large part of the site is no longer there, so we're just going to visit the website less, right? There's less pages, there's less content, there's less reason for the Googlebot to be there. Now, this isn't necessarily a problem. It's definitely not what you want to see, and it's definitely a little shocking for a client. But this was important for us because what we determined was that they blocked some pages that shouldn't have been blocked. And it's really tricky using Google's URL parameters, and I'll talk briefly about it later in this presentation. So here's an example of a website where the crawl budget, the pages crawled per day is growing. And this was because we were doing a lot of content marketing on the website and a lot of link building. What happens when you build content again and build links is you're constantly pushing pages into the index. If you're doing a good job promoting them on social media and building somewhat of a buzz, Google's going to see that they're popular, and you're going to quickly pick up the pages crawled, your crawl budget, and all that stuff. And as long as your content is quality, solid, your website's running fine, then this will continue to go up should you just practice really best practices of SEO. So what factors can affect your crawl budget, right? I just gave you 3 very basic examples, but this can get very detailed. So the first one being faceted navigation and session identifiers. So this here is a screenshot from Nike.com. And basically what faceted navigation issues means is when you are again, a larger e-commerce website and you've got all these different navigational structures up here. This faceted nav is this sidebar nav here that allows you to add filters, categories, things like that. What happens is these can go on every time that you change one of these, the URL will change, right? Which means that you're generating all these new URLs in Google which can get indexed. And if you think about how many that could be, I mean, you go on Nike and they got about 60 things over here, plus all the different colors, plus all the different sizes. We're talking about a lot of URLs that can be generated. So faceted navigation issues, again, if you're not properly managed just with canonical tags, URL parameters, or blocking the crawl based on specific URLs via robots.txt, then you can really deplete your crawl budget because Google's going to be crawling and indexing a lot of these very low quality pages that sometimes might not even have a product on it, right? If you go to tops, t-shirts, size 6, and there's no products, there's going to be nothing on that page for Google to even look at. So it's very low quality. It needs to be managed, and that can affect your crawl budget. So also on-site duplicate content. So an example of this, again, is very similar to a faceted navigation issues with the URLs, but we're talking about how these different pages can, again, the root page here is /product, but when we've got all these different URL issues coming on here, Google can read it as duplicate content on the website. One thing, again, that you can do is set up URL parameters in Google. I suggest you read the blog post version of this because I have some links in there that you can check out because setting these up can be pretty detrimental if you do this wrong. So make sure that you check into that if you think about it. Another one here is soft 404 errors. Again, so if your server returns a 200 status for a page that does not exist and should return a 404, it's a soft 404. And again, you can find this from Google Search Console, going into your URL errors report, and you can see if you have these on your website. Very easy to download and fix up. Hacked pages is another one. So if you have hacked pages, you'll see this kind of notification in Google, which you've probably seen before. Google obviously does not want to serve those hacked website to users. So it will definitely cause your website to be crawled less and less if you're hacked, and that's just something that you have to check in Search Console, just check the SERPs for as well, but you should get a notification for that. Another one is infinite spaces, circular links, and proxies. So this is slightly confusing, but what this is referring to here, they give an example of a calendar, right? So if you're using a calendar on your website, technically these URLs could go on forever, right? They could go on 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, all the way to, 50 million, and then also back the other way. So what happens is you're generating all these new URLs, and again, if these aren't managed, then these are what are called infinite spaces and circular links, because these will push this thing on infinitely, right? They say it will push the Googlebot to infinite spaces on the web. That's why it's called infinite spaces. So again, you want to make sure that you're managing this with the same solutions that we talked about before. So another one is low quality and spam content. I don't even have an image for that because it's very basic. Really make sure this is a huge thing for us right now, is going through and really readjusting for quality for pages, less looking at them from a keyword point of view and much more from a quality point of view. Like, does this page truly add value? How does it fit into our website's overall strategy and our marketing plan? How does it fit in with our customers? All that type of stuff. You want to make sure that it's not duplicate, obviously, and you're not ripping stuff from other people. Just create something of value to your audience and make sure that it pushes through and shines across your whole website. It's really important, not only from just a crawl budget point of view, but just from an overall SEO point of view as well. So how to audit your crawl budget. So the easiest way to do this is through log file analysis of your server logs, but these can be very challenging. But if you are able to get them, you can use a tool like Botify. It's really powerful. There's a number of other tools out there as well. Just search for them. They're incredibly logs.io is another good one. But what you're specifically looking for are the pages that are getting the most hits and requests from Googlebot, the pages that are returning errors, and the pages that are getting the least or no requests, right? Because that can help us understand truly the quality of your website from how Google views it. Anything that's getting crawled less and not getting visited, you can take a deeper look at and say, okay, how can we improve the quality of this page, or how can we get rid of it? So here's an example of what your server logs look like. You can see it's not the prettiest way to look at it. It's just standard Apache. But here is a tool like Botify, and you can see it just lays a very nice UI on top of it, and it gives you all the information that you need very quickly. So most importantly now, how can we increase our crawl budget? So there's 5 things here that I'm going to talk about to give you an idea. So number 1 is reduce errors. So broken pages, 404, pages that time out, misused or not used directive tags like no index canonical redirects. Make sure that those are set up properly and you're not pushing to the wrong pages, blocking pages from the robots.txt file, faulty mobile device sniffer, serving desktop pages, mobile views, etc., etc. There's a number of ways to find these things. We usually just like a crawl tool. You can also use like an SEMrush or Ahrefs to check for site broken links. There's a number of tools, but basically what you want to do is visit these issued pages, find out what's causing them to fail, check all your directives tags across site-wide, make sure your sitemaps are set up, cleaned up, and make sure that you're really looking at these pages to make sure that they have value to your website as well, and get them cleaned up if they do not. So another one is reducing redirect chains. Redirect chains can kill the flow of link equity and dramatically slow down crawl rates. And this is important too, because Googlebot literally crawls from page to page through links. So if Google is not recognizing links across your website, then you're going to have no equity across the website, and it's going to crush your indexation rate, really, also your crawl rate, because the Googlebot isn't going to see those pages if you don't have authority on your website. So Matt Cutts back in 2011 recommended 1 to 2 hops as ideal. Sorry, trigger happy here. But if once you're in the 3 to 6 range, really, the success of Googlebot is low to follow those redirect hops. So what you want to do is use a crawling tool like Screaming Frog or Deep Crawl to find the URLs with multiple redirects. You can use your log file analyzer as well if you're set up there, and then create a list of the URLs that redirect to another URL and get them to your dev and get them to fix that up and clean it up. Make sure they're all implemented to the server side, whatever that you're doing, to make sure that it stays permanent. So also blocking parts of your website via robots.txt file, query parameters that don't offer unique or valuable content, pages that should have never been seen by Googlebot, crawlers you don't want crawling your website, dev pages or subdomains that you do not want indexed, pages that offer little to no value to Google, like user profile pages on a forum, just low quality pages that really don't have any search or user value. You want to get these cleaned up, again, and make sure that you're blocking them via robots.txt file and not blocking the wrong pages as well. So another way is to increase your website speed. Speed performance is actually cited as the #1 killer of crawlbot in a recent study I saw. I wish I had the link, but didn't make it up, I promise. But some common fixes are just compressing files, optimizing images. You know the deal here. Also, definitely getting a CDN. Very important. Another thing is to get more backlinks. So external links tell Google which pages are the most important. Google prefers to crawl the most important websites. And, well, getting links is really hard. We're not going to talk about it here. But essentially making sure that just at a very crude level, that the content you have on your website is great, and you're doing a good job promoting it via blogger outreach, influencers, social media, just getting out there, getting it popular, and your website will pick up links organically. Pick up some PR if you need to, or you can just call us and we'll handle your link building. But seriously, you should. Just some results that we've seen from clients. When we actually go through this and identify issues, we see a 55% increase on average in organic traffic, and these are all coming from the future client data over the last 2 years, really. 87% increase in average keyword rankings, and 38% average increase in leads and revenue. This is very impactful stuff, and this is also folding in just kind of our general technical SEO stuff across the board. If you're in need, come see us. Finally, if you have any questions, guys, please leave them on the video. I'm happy to answer them, and yeah, let's chat.